day to one and all. In the previous video we have understood the meaning and definition of agreement and contract, and we concluded that a contract is nothing but it is an agreement which is enforceable by law, and to become enforceable in any court of law an agreement have to follow 10 essential conditions which are mentioned in Indian Contract Act 1872. In this video, we are going to understand what are these 10 essential conditions which are to be fulfilled by an agreement to become enforceable in the court. Condition number 1 is offer. Section 2A defines offer. When one person signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with a view to obtain the assent of that other to such act, he is said to make a proposal. That means when one party, that is offerer, is showing his willingness of doing something or of not doing something to the another with one intention, that the another party who is offeree should accept the offer in the similar manner, is called as a proposal. Offer must be clear, certain and unconditional. That means to become a valid offer, it should be made in a very clear manner, in a very certain manner and very unconditional. If the offer is containing any kind of condition, then this cannot be called as the valid offer. For example, Mr. A offers to Mr. B to complete some work for the remuneration of rupees 5,000. Over here, this is the offer which is made by Mr. A to do certain things. So, it is the positive offer. The another example, Mr. X offer Mr. Y that if he does not want the free gift with the product, then the discount of rupees 5,000 will be given. Over here, Mr. X is offering of not doing something. So, offer can be positive or it can be negative, but it should be legal one. Offer can be express offer, which means the offerer is using any kind of language, words or numbers. Whereas implied offer is an offer where there is no use of language, words or numbers, but these are the actions or surroundings which are showing that offer is made. For example, a taxi which is standing at the taxi stand shows that it is an implied offer. Offer can be made in the following manner. One is individual offer, which is made to one individual or to the specific person, and the right of accepting or rejecting will lies only to that specific person. The another offer is group offer. It is an offer which is given to the group of people, and the group of people will be having the right to accept or reject it. The third one is mass offer or public offer, which is given in general to the entire population. It is also to be mentioned that an offer must be properly communicated. Until and unless the offer is not communicated properly, it cannot be called as the valid offer. The second important condition is acceptance. Section 2B defines the term acceptance as when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto. That means when the offeree to whom the offer is made is also showing his willingness to accept the offer, the proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. So, the moment proposal becomes a promise, we can say that one agreement has been emerged, and this agreement is creating obligations on both the parties. A valid acceptance must be clear, certain and unconditional. If there is any kind of condition in the acceptance, then this cannot be called as a valid acceptance. There are two types of acceptance. One is express acceptance, another one is implied acceptance. Express acceptance is an acceptance where the words are used or the language is used whether in oral form or in writing form, whereas implied acceptance is an acceptance where words are not used but the action or the surroundings or the conditions are stating that the offer has been accepted. The third essential condition is legal relations. As we know that when the acceptance is made by the offeree, it becomes a promise. That means the parties to the agreement should be or must be serious of what they are offering or accepting. This means if any party breaks his promise, the innocent party can go to the court of law for enforcement of the promise or for the damages. So whenever the offer is made in a very valid manner, when the acceptance is made again in the valid manner, it becomes an agreement and the bond is getting immersed between these two parties, that is offerer and offeree. And after this agreement, if one party is going back from his or her words, then there will be loss of the another party, and this act is giving right to the innocent party to go to the court and to ask for the enforcement of the promise, or the person can even ask for the damages which he is suffering because of the breakage of the promise. Legal relations example states A and B are real brothers. A wants to sell his house for rupees 50 lakhs and B showed his interest and said he will buy it. Later on, C approached A and offered him rupees 55 lakhs. A refused as he already promised his brother. After few days, B said to A that he is not interested in buying. In this case, Indian Contract Act 1872 gives full right to A to ask for damages from B even though they are real brothers. That means legal relations are stating that when two parties are offering and accepting the terms and condition, it becomes a promise and then they cannot go back from their words. The another important essential condition is lawful objects. Objects means the purpose of the agreement. We know that the agreement comes into existence with one purpose. The act says that the object of the contract must be lawful. Object of the contract refers to the purpose of the contract, and the purpose for which a contract is entered into must be lawful. That means there should not be any kind of illegal activity, or the purpose should not be against the interest of any individual or the society at large. The next essential condition is capacity or capability. This particular condition states that what are the conditions to be satisfied by an individual to become the party to the contract. These are: first condition states attained age of majority. That means the party who is going to enter into an agreement have to see that he or she has attained age of majority. In India, we are having two different acts which are defining the age of majority. One act states that the age of majority is 18 years. The another act states the age of majority is 21 years. So it is the party who has to see that what kind of agreement he is entering into and what age he has to satisfy. The second condition states the party who wants to enter into an agreement should be of sound mind. Sound mind means the party should be in a position to understand the terms and conditions and should also understand the consequences of not following the terms and conditions. The third condition states that the person who wants to enter into an agreement should not be declared disqualified by any court of law under any ground. Therefore, Section 11 says that every person is competent to contract who is the age of majority according to the law which he is subject. That means the party has to see whether he has to complete 18 years or 21 years and who is of sound mind and not disqualified from contracting by any law. If the person is satisfying these three conditions, he is becoming eligible or capable to enter into any agreement. The another essential condition is free consent. According to Indian Contract Act 1872, all the parties to the contract or agreement must understand the terms in the same manner as it is explained. That means the party should understand the terms and conditions very clearly. If there is any kind of doubt in the mind of the party, they should clarify there and there itself. At the same time, there should not be any kind of influence on the party to accept certain conditions which he is not intended to accept. That means there should not be any kind of force. That means free consent refers to free from any kind of fraud, error and force in any manner. If the parties are forced to sign the agreement or enter into an agreement where they are not willing to, that means this contract or agreement is not having free consent. So it should have free consent from both the parties. The next essential condition is consideration. Consideration means something in return. That means the parties, those who are entering into an agreement, must get some or other benefit. And at the same time, the agreement should decide what sort of benefits both of them are going to get. Consideration can be direct or it can be indirect. That means the party who is entering into the agreement may be getting benefit, or with the intention of getting another party's interest, the parties are entering into an agreement. For example, Mr. A is entering into one agreement which is going to benefit his son or his daughter. That means this is the indirect consideration of the parties. Without consideration, there cannot be any agreement. That means if only one party is getting benefit out of the agreement, then this agreement may not be called as the valid contract. The another condition states that the object of the agreement must have capability of performance. That means the purpose for which the agreement have been formed should have the capability of getting performed. Every agreement is formed with one purpose or object. The object of the agreement should be free from vague or ambiguity. That means there should not be any kind of impossible things or very different things or the things which cannot be understood. If your offer is containing the purpose which is very vague or based on ambiguity, then it is not the valid type of object. The example says, Mr. A promises to Mr. B of bringing India Gate from Delhi to Chennai for the sum of Indian rupees 1 crore. The purpose of this agreement says that one party is promising to another of bringing India Gate from Delhi to Chennai, which is impossible in nature. It is very vague, or we can say it is very ambiguous type of purpose. It can never be performed. Therefore, this particular agreement can never be called as the contract. Hence, the Act says that the object or the purpose of any agreement must be having the capability to get performed. The another essential condition says that agreement should not be void. Void means having zero or null value. That means these are the agreements which are not enforceable in any court of law. Agreement may become void due to some reasons. There may be some technical problem, there may be some sort of any condition which have not been complied with, and because of that the agreement is becoming void. The Act has given the list of void agreements, and the parties to the agreement have to see that their agreement is not in the void list. For example, if you are entering into an agreement with a minor, it is the void kind of agreement. So if you are entering into such type of agreement, these agreements will never be counted as the valid contract. The last condition is legal formalities. That means if the agreement requires to follow certain legal formalities to become a valid contract, it have to follow all the conditions. And until and unless all these legal formalities are not followed, the agreement can never be called as a valid contract. This point clearly shows that if your agreement requires to follow the legal conditions, that means every time your agreement may not be requiring to follow the legal formalities. But if requires, then you have to complete all these legal formalities. What the example says, while buying a house, it is necessary to register and keep the agreement in writing on stamp paper. It is properly signed by the parties to the agreement and attested by the magistrate. That means until and unless you are not following all these legal formalities properly, your agreement can never be converted into a contract. So these are the 10 essential conditions which are to be fulfilled by all the agreements to become a valid contract. Thank you. Let us conclude the entire session. In this video we have learned total 10 essential conditions of a valid contract. These are valid offer, valid acceptance, legal relations, lawful objects, capacity or capability entered into contract, free consent, consideration, the purpose must have capability to get performed, it should not be void, and legal formalities. We will learn about the types of contract in the next video. Thank you.